Hello Waffle Maniacs and welcome to this episode 74 or potentially 75 of Waffling On, where I will be talking to you today about everything that happened at United Wrestling's Trouble Brewing. Apologies first for it taking so long to get this episode out to you guys, but I think I may still be in shock from everything that happened. It may have been the physical and verbal assault that I was subjected to, or being so close to a cursed object, or perhaps the staggering ramifications of the main event, or because someone was brewing something backstage that made me do somewhat strange things. Yep, I think that's probably it. Anyway, on with the action. First up, thankfully, which means we can get them out of the way, was the arrival of a certain syndicate from South London who had, quote, made a far journey to get to Reading. The Peckham Outreach Organisation, featuring Mrs. Hicksy's most memorable, if not favourite wrestler, probably besides Awesome Kong, entered and the crowd went absolutely wild. Or rather, mild. And if I'm being honest, that's being very generous indeed. Yes, fur-coated and deluded, the Peckham Prince Tyler Walker, the Peckham player Jimmy Player, the Peckham playboy Haskins, all strolled in and immediately started abusing the fans, including yours truly, because for some reason, they had an issue with something that I had supposedly said in a previous episode. I can't think why. I'm assuming they just didn't understand the longer words. Anyway, their opponents for this opening tag team bout come from a place a far journey north of South London. Geography may well not be my strong suit. The heavenly bodies of Heaven Lee, Chris Angel and Ivor Lee, debuting here as a tag team at United and getting a massive ovation as well as eliciting an impromptu sing-along. Now, I've speculated before that I think Chris Angel may well be undead. It seems to me that I've seen him murdered several times at previous United events, not least of which was the satanic red chair incident that springs instantly to mind. And sadly, at Trouble Brewing, he got murdered again. Hakan, who earlier had been getting more than a taste of the action as he'd bitten both opponents, then proceeded to deliver lethal kicks to both Ivor and Chris, which I'm pretty sure knocked their souls straight out of their bodies. These were nowhere near as lethal as the blow that he dealt to me, which I've excised from this video in order to protect those of a sensitive disposition and also to send straight to my lawyers. Back in the ring, we were treated to some exotic dancing from the Prince and some irritating interruptions from the player, all of which continuously provoked Angel to storm the ring and also unleash a series of potty-mouthed tirades, the likes of which I have not heard since the days of Simon Quest. That's not very angelic. He's not a good role model, Chris. And it was his tendency to be easily provoked that was Heaven Lee's undoing. The Stagheart took an absolute beating from the more focused Peckham Outreach Organisation, with Angel becoming more frustrated as he was isolated outside the ring. And eventually, when Chris did become legal, the lethal playboy finished matters, obliterating him for the 1-2-3. I did have high hopes that we'd see Heaven Lee go straight into the tag team title picture following this match, but sadly, it looks like we may be seeing their opponents take their place up the Peckham pecking order. Before I start dissecting the action, I must first thank everyone in the crowd for their reaction to the entrances for this second match. They had no trouble booing at Trouble Brewing, and how could they when the spoiler, snaky old Aluna, made her entrance? It doesn't seem so long ago in this very venue that the Boo Constrictor, I am going to make that stick, faced Hustle Malone for the absolute title with all of Reading behind her. But since she shed her skin, there's not a single fan in sight, not even Dan. The same cannot be said of her opponent, who not only has everyone at the Double Barrel Brewery on their feet, allowing for dicky hips of course, but also seems to be setting a trend with her colourful ring gear that others are taking note of. Looking at you, Rollins and Lynch. To try and kill the party mood straight away, Aluna went in hard, asking Ollie where her title was, a reference to the recently relinquished Phantomweight title. Not too touchy a subject, it would seem, as OJ went straight back asking Aluna where hers was. And thus we have the first invocation of the FP curse here at Trouble Brewing. With that having failed, our former favourite set straight to her usual game plan at the opening bell, the same one she employed recently in defeating Rain Leverkusen, looking straight away to target her opponent's legs. Guess that makes sense for a jealous snake, and therefore stopping Ollie's dynamic wrestling style and denying the fans as well a decent match. And although she was successful in dampening spirits during the bout, Aluna did not get her way this time round, with Ollie rocking out from a pin attempt into her own for a 1-2-3 in the victory. But before she had the chance to celebrate, the former Wonderland Warrior continued her dastardly assault. It seemed insistent on leaving a trail of one-legged wrestlers in her wake. That was until someone else made an entrance. Toxxin stormed out to challenge the loony psycho bitch, her words, and challenge both Aluna and Ollie to a match. Nero stated someone bigger and badder had arrived and promised to knock certain bodily fluids out of her opponents. And here's a note to United management: you might want to make this one a main event. If Toxxin gets her way, no one will want to wrestle in that ring afterwards. So Toxxin, the backbreaker, is already here, soon joined by Freddie Idol, the jaw rocker, Payne, the fire starter, and lonely Tony Kyle, the also appearing. Why are they here? Well, there's a certain vacant belt up for grabs. Some would say a cursed title, one that I'm not going to mention by name for fear of conjuring some of the misfortune on myself. Let's look at the facts. Old Looney Pants had the belt first, but the curse struck before she could cash in. L.A. Taylor, perhaps realising, had a weasel at hand to carry the title on her behalf and disposed of it almost immediately. It then fell into the grasp of Chris Aries, who... It then fell into the grasp of Arthur Scarrow, who also suffered an injury and had to abdicate the title, leaving it idle, which perhaps explains why Freddie is here. And any curse should probably be more scared of Toxxin than she would be of it. Payne, well, perhaps he'd thrive on the anarchy that would result. And Tony Kyle, well, his luck can't get any worse. He's already on a bad run, having lost all friends and titles of late. And perhaps with a victory here, the Ab Mav could exact revenge on Chris Aries at Monster Bash 4, because previously, at Monster Bash 3, he was defeated in a trick-or-treat match, which, shameless plug, was the subject of a recent episode of WO Retro, available now to watch on the Wrestling Outsider YouTube channel. This was an epic end to the first half of Trouble Brewing. From a chorus of anyone but TK to KP taking requests of one more time to devastating effect. From Toxxin breaking backs unfettered to Freddie Idol getting smashed all over the place. This more than made up for the fact that the promised Cookie Man was not in attendance. Sorry, Michael. Did I mention that Freddie was having a bad day? Well, to put him out of his misery and to save him from the curse, Kai unleashed a massive discus lariat followed by a painkiller to take the win. The double-barreled fans were on their feet, and foolishly, KP was straight on his phone, streaming his victory to the world and the custodians of the curse. The custodians. Kai, there is no escaping it now. The second half of Trouble Brewing started with more double-barrel, double-teaming as the United Tag titles were on the line. The Little Knackers, Zach and Cam, defending on this occasion against the seemingly reformed characters of Jack Knudsen and Ben Harland, Act 2. But old habits die hard, and not only were the challengers back to their normal behaviour almost instantly, but so were the fans, as Act 2 became Act Boo in their eyes. The boss, not the United boss, was particularly disappointed at this return to form. Having become number one contenders to the belts by turning over a new leaf and the Killers, suddenly Act 2 were acting no better than irritating boys in her class, as she put it. But justice prevailed. Despite Act Boo attempting to scurry outside the ring at the slightest chance, they were beaten by the aerial ability of the Rowe Bros, which is lethal within the ropes, but goes well beyond the confines of the squared circle. The final moment saw the Bros take flight and annihilate not only the contenders, but the venue itself with the walls of United quaking. This is another massive stride for our champions, who are cementing themselves as a real force in the Brit Rest scene, racking up victories over more experienced and wily opponents with performances belying their years. Who will be next to test their mettle? We saw early in the night that there's a trio from SE15 who might fancy their chances, as well as another duo who may get a mention later, who are looking to right what they see as the injustice of us lauding these newcomers. Regardless, I don't think this is the last time we will see the Bros rowing into the sunset with titles intact. Sorry, just remembered last time Rowe and Sunset were mentioned at United. Better skip ahead before anyone else's honour is besmirched. It's unification time for the Phantomweight and Absolute Championships as MJ Grayson faces Scotty Rawk. Or at least that's what we thought, until MJ made out like a smooth criminal and changed the rules. Exercising his phantomweight right to challenge for Rawk's title, Grayson made it clear he was not putting his own title on the line, putting poor Mike Baker in a real spot.
See, I told you I'm not right.
Having played Kira or second bollock to Scotty, I should probably clear that up. For Rawk's entrance, the host then had to stand by awkwardly and accept that no unification was at hand, at least for now. The Icon of Sin conceded that should Scotty best him here, then a return match with everything on the line would perhaps be on the cards. But that didn't look like anything that Grayson would have to worry about, as he immediately used his size advantage to muscle in, dominate, and then attempt to destroy Scotty's left knee, snaky Aluna style, which severely compromised Scotty's ability to deliver his lethal chin check. A wise, if cowardly, move. It seemed the Double Barrel Brewery's favourite Lost Boy would be facing his first defeat at the venue and put in real jeopardy his position as part of the foundation of United Wrestling. Now, this foundation is something Scotty, along with the Rowe Bros, claimed to be at the previous United show at the DB. But subsequently, a couple of irritants over at Tap Social, Rex Armstrong and Harry Sefton, have stated that they are the United Wrestling Foundation. An interesting prospect that these two groups may have to settle that dispute in the very near future. But back to the match. The assault continued in a one-sided manner, with Scotty struggling to mount any offence on account of the fact he had only one good leg. The DB support was just as one-sided, however, with the partisan crowd hailing their hero and abusing his tormentor, willing Scotty on to victory against the odds. And victorious he was, absolutely obliterating Grayson in the end, first with a one-legged Devon driver, and then, through the pain, with a painted chin check, wresting back not only his absolute title, but also the chance to do what he had originally set out to do here, become a double-barrel champion at United Wrestling. It looks like the phantomweight advantage won't be in play in any rematch, so MJ best have his A game in play, else it will not be the Icon of Sin with the unification win. It's time for the main event, folks, and you know what that means. It's Chris Aries' big moment, the chance to get the Skins win back on the board. The redemption arc complete. The first wrestler to 25 victories at United Wrestling. A chance for the Unbreakable to beat the Unbeatable and stand tall as truly the Undisputed champion. This has been a year-long quest where Aries has put his body and his title on the line again and again and again. And each time, even from the brink, found it within himself to outthink, outmuscle, and outlast every single opponent. He even seemed to evade a certain curse during that time. So who would bet against another main event at Monster Bash 4 for Aries? Against a newly crowned anarchist? Or perhaps a beast? Not this diehard legionnaire, and that's for sure. Did I mention a beast? Well, our super heavyweight champion Liam Jones made a supreme effort to get back from his tour of Japan to make it to Trouble Brewing, but was scuppered at the last minute by being barred from attending. The boss, bearded, bald, fucks up the music, made it very clear to the super beast that he was not welcome. So Liam has vowed, with the boss, see previous description, away from Monster Bash 4, to take on Aries or Mark Haskins or whoever has the belt at that time. Exciting. Jones versus Aries. Cannot wait. I was getting ahead of myself. This was not a match. This was not a bout. This was a war. By my count, the longest match in Chris Aries' career and likely the longest singles contest in United Wrestling history. Absolutely everyone was exhausted by its climax. It was clear early on that it is with good reasons that Haskins is unbeaten at United Wrestling and why he holds the upper hand in terms of victories over Aries. Whilst the United faithful have amassed behind the Legion King, Haskins has simply gone about his business, preparing to unleash everything he has in the quest for the big belt. And unleash he did, kicking and beating and bending and flattening the champion again and again and again. But we all know this can happen. I mean, Spike Trevay, Tony Kyle, Harrison Bennett tried this 3 times to no avail. Aries is unbreakable. He has forgotten how to lose, and we have forgotten that he can. So the shock and the silence that greeted the unthinkable, the unbeatable, breaking the unbreakable, is still ringing in my ears. I still don't have the word to describe it, which, for the sake of this podcast, is reasonably problematic. Suffice to say, the forlorn figure of a broken Legion King haunts me still. And so, all those plans, the celebrations, the coronation, have all been cancelled. An era of Aries, or at least the first, has drawn to a close, with United Wrestling now entering the age of Haskins. And who can say on this display just how long this new age will last? Well, there's one man who holds the power to cut it short, and destiny, with no mention of future, in his own hands. The Firestarter, Kai Payne. With Liam Jones appearing to be locked in to face the new champion in October, there was no time like the present to seize a title opportunity and rid oneself of the FP curse. With the shell-shocked former Undisputed champion watching on, anyone remember why it was Undisputed? Payne appeared and was goaded into cashing in. Entering Haskins' territory against medical and piratical advice, the insults of the veteran champion lit a spark in the Firestarter, who perhaps hoped to take advantage of the battle-scarred and weary Haskins and follow in LA Taylor's footsteps to crown a third figurehead in a single United Wrestling event. What can I tell you? Well, put simply, no. With the challenger having admitted to being injured and also lacking feeling in one arm, Haskins brutally and repeatedly targeted Payne's neck to the extent that Kai was unable to move by the final bell. With a second victory on the night, the age of Haskins looks like it could well be an epoch, at the very least. And on this show, maybe even an eel. That's one for you geological time fans out there. For all the two former FP champions' efforts, the curse has struck again, with two broken bodies left in the rearview mirror of the hatchet. And with that kind of dominant display, we all have to agree, United is Haskins. And that's that for me, besides having to admit that I now may like all Mikes and Michaels at United for some reason, and that I have to fill you in at what's on the slate for Monster Bash 4, which is swiftly approaching. The Undisputed, the Phantomweight, and perhaps the Absolute Championships will all be on the line, and I guess there's even chance there may be a new future-proof